Yeah, I think you'll find that the organization, and I have written a letter to Life magazine. I think the article, in a sense, is unfortunate, and it's not indicative of the kind of hospital care treatment that the veteran receives across the country, generally speaking. We know that there are problems in VA hospitals across the country because of a lack of funding. There's been a lack of staffing. Now, I think also that this article may help tend to wake up the Congress, because I gave testimony before Senator Cranston's subcommittee in December of 1969, where we pointed out our documented evidence of various problems in VA hospitals across the country, seeking a more funding for the hospital care program.
Well, I think we'll see more open abortions performed. Of course, I imagine maybe the majority of doctors will still be somewhat inhibited from either openly performing abortions or perhaps even performing abortions at all, since there still remains the question of what will the United States Supreme Court do.
Since there was no injunction against the woman being prosecuted, will doctors be liable to arrest now?
I believe the district attorney has been quoted as saying that he would probably still enforce the statute.
With this ruling, will doctors become, do you think, more open about performing abortions?
Yes, I believe so. I believe the decision will, to a great extent, more or less legitimize their activities.
Well, in Tarrant County, we have 711,386 people, according to this census. Divide that by 2, and you come out with this figure right here, 355,693, which means that we can have 2 districts in Tarrant County within 1,297 of the average, which means we don't have to beg, borrow, or steal from anybody. We will have 2 entire senatorial districts and be within 1/2 of 1% of the norm for the entire state. You can't come any closer than that by design. This is by accident.
Well, now, prior to your Amarillo no-hitter, which was thrown May 9, you say you threw a one-hitter.
Yes, against Amarillo. That was the first batter got a base hit. It was off my glove. It could have been an error. They could have rung it up as an error, but that was the only hit they got, the first batter, the first pitch of the game, in fact.
Well, you know, a one-hitter, then a no-hitter, then a couple of games later an almost no-hitter, and then again, you must be feeling pretty good about your future in baseball.
Well, I hope to think so, but you never can tell in this game. A break here, a break there, a sore arm or something like that. It's hard to say, but actually I'm feeling pretty good. This is only my second full year of pitching, and I feel pretty good about the way things are going.
When will the Baltimore front office learn about your performances? Do they know about last night's already?
I suppose they did. Our manager, Joe Altobelli, makes a game report after every game, and usually he calls up, but not always. But I think in this case, they know about it already.
Go.
Saturday is National Fink Day. Now, this may not be one of your favorite holidays, one that you get off work to celebrate, but I think you'll hear a little more about it between now and Saturday. And we're in Fink, Texas today, not only to find out how it got started, but what's planned. Now, incidentally, Fink, Texas is in Texas, and don't look for it on your map because you're not going to find it. We found it after a couple of days of looking, and we have found an honorary Fink because there is no longer a Mayor Fink. We have instead a Mayor, Pat Albright, and her deputy mayor, which she tells me is really her crutch, Miss Lucy Clement. Mayor Albright, what's planned for National Fink Day on Saturday?
Well, we're going to have the golf tournament on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and free refreshments on Saturday.
Now, I know Fink, Texas isn't big enough to have a golf course. Where are they going to play?
Up at Tanglewood.
Which is how far from here?
About 2 miles.
Now, the tournament is very close to getting underway. How many entries do you have?
Well, I think right now there's about 135.
Now, they're not all Finks, are they?
No. We have several, though.
I thought maybe you had to be a Fink to play in this tournament.
Oh, no.
How many Finks will be coming in this weekend?
Oh, right now I'm not sure, but I would say about 12.
Ms. Clement, I understand you're the whiz on Fink history. How did Fink, Texas get started, and how did we get to this point?
Well, it's been Fink, Texas for many years. In fact, the book here was published in 1908, and there was Fink, Texas at that time.
Let's take a look at the book, if we can get Mal to take a picture of this. We don't get too much light on it. This was printed in 1908, you say, and
Right.
It's a plat book of Grayson County, Texas, and includes Fink, the location where we're now standing. Now, I'm sure there was, at one time, more than a general store to Fink, Texas. What is its history?
Yes, there was 2 grocery stores, and there was a blacksmith shop, and a cotton gin, and also a post office years ago.
Now, Mayor, what happened to all those thriving businesses?
Well, they were gone before my time.
Now, you took over the store when?
4 years ago.
There is no longer an incorporated town of Fink, is there?
No, sir.
It's just the store.
It's the store.
So it's kind of an honorary spot on the nobody's map.
Yes, it is.
Very good. And we hope National Fink Day turns out to be a success, and we'll visit with you again at that time. So there you have it, National Fink Day. It's this Saturday right here in Fink, Texas. Oh, by the way, since it isn't on the map, you may have a little difficulty in finding it. It's 3 miles northwest of Pottsboro. This is Jim Mitchell, Channel 8 News on the move, really in Fink, Texas.
It reflects the service in other areas and to a certain degree the care of the patient. No patient is neglected, no patient is refused treatment that needs it, but it is not easy to take care of 40 or 50 patients, or sometimes 60 patients, with one registered nurse on duty at night. By that I am inferring that they are not neglected, but they are not given what we would consider to be adequate professional nursing care.
Getting back to the same old bugaboo of budget, how is this going to affect, if it will, your staff over the next fiscal year?
Well, if we do not get extra money, we will be forced to decrease our staff by 5 people each quarter.
Many people
in the past years, has posed quite a problem to us here at the Dallas VA Hospital, because we always start off the year without sufficient money to run us at the level we anticipated we would. Last year we were several $100,000 short. This year, if we carry on our activities at the same rate during fiscal year 71 as we have done in 70, we will be $378,000 short.
Most citizens in Dallas will recall that many such meetings have been held by the City of Dallas and by the school board and other governmental bodies in the county. To my knowledge, this is the only meeting ever held by the county since the state law was held that has ever been questioned in any way by anyone. I think it's quite a coincidence that the county was singled out by KERA-TV people, evidently with the consent of management of KERA-TV, including the board chairman, Mr. Ralph Rogers.
What specifically are you accusing Ralph Rogers of?
I think that many people have pointed out to me, since this controversy has arisen, that there is an interrelation between Mr. Ralph Rogers and certain people in political factions in the city. These factions include, of course, the known association with school board factions and certain city council factions.
I.e., Eric Johnson?
Yes, and members of the school board. The question then is, why did Channel 13 single out the county for the one meeting that they held when many such executive sessions have been held by the school board and city officials?
I'm sure that the teachers are interested in maintaining the intent of House Bill 199. That is, every teacher must have a planning period each day. And of course, the board reaffirmed their intent to operate our school system consistent with that piece of legislation.
We're saying that we're happy that they met and that they came up with a decision in their second paragraph that upheld the state law. We're unhappy in that they still say that they can assign us to duties during that period of emergency, which I think you can foresee most of the time.
It's our position that the state may not consider strictly moral questions. It cannot find just a strictly moral justification in enacting criminal legislation. They have to find some justification, some secular justification for criminal legislation.
Well, it's simple mathematics, Art. You take the population figures which were released yesterday by the Census Bureau. They are preliminary, but I've been assured that there will be less than 1% variance in this in the final figure, perhaps, so it really doesn't make a difference. We can go ahead and do it now. But you take the Texas population figure for 1970 right here. We have 31 senators under our state constitution, so you divide that number by 31, it gives you the number of people that should be in each senatorial district, 354,396.
Looking at Tarrant County, how will we be affected?
We have a witness that made a statement that he saw two men drive up in a late model Chevrolet, get out, open the door of the building, come back, open the trunk of the car, remove some cans and carry them inside. Short time later, there was an explosion and fire, and we found these two bodies. A billfold off of one of the bodies shows the name Billy Joe Weaver as being one of the victims. The other as yet is unidentified. He's a large man, well over 6 feet tall, well built. As near as we could tell, probably in his 30s.
She can have an abortion, and assuming that she has it in Texas, she need no longer suffer any kind of guilt feelings because of engendered by the fact, the supposed fact that she is committing an illegal act. Of course, she may still encounter some difficulty in finding a physician who will perform an abortion, since the physicians would still face the threat of prosecutions under the abortion laws.
Mr. Cook, as Executive Director of the Teachers Association, what course of action are you going to take now?
Well, Judge, we're going to take whatever action we think is necessary to uphold the position, the status, and the conditions of service of the teachers of Dallas Independent School District. We, as Mr. Hyde said, are not totally satisfied with this decision, and we will do whatever we think is in the best interest of the teachers in Dallas.
What do you think is the best interest of the teachers of Dallas in this case?
Well, we agree that in emergency situations that we all have to help out. What we don't agree with is this decision that a principal can just declare an emergency, and as in the North Dallas situation, the emergency continued for 2 months.
Not to the degree that they might be. I think Mrs. Nauer, who is President Nixon's Special Assistant for Consumer Affairs, is really very much for the consumer and does understand the problems in the same way that I do. I'm not convinced that the President is as all out for the consumer as Mrs. Nauer is. For instance, she suggested that consumers be able to file class action suits against companies who have done things that they felt were irresponsible, and by the time that became a Nixon bill, it had been considerably watered down. I don't think the President went all the way with it.
How long do you think it'll take you to exhume the remainder of it? Oh, look, here's part of it here.
At least the rest of the day.
At least the rest of the day.
And probably into tomorrow, depending on the manpower.
What do you plan to do with the bones when you get them out?
Well, we're going to put them in the skeletal collection, which we're assembling to compare with fossil bones for identification.
That's quite a job.
Well, it's all part of the bone business.
That we started out to make a report of the facts. We have not yet had that report approved by all our organizations. There are a number of organizations. They meet at different times, have different rules for approving statements. So that the report still is not official and has not been approved by all of our organizations. And those of us who've been meeting are really meeting just as individuals so far.
Is there any truth to some of the rumors and accusations, outright charges have been made that there was collusion between your group and what, Channel 13 or whatever, in regards to this closed meeting that's been of controversy recently with the commissioners?
No, that's a ridiculous thing to say. We were concerned about the children, and we thought that it was the right thing to do to let the commissioners know what sort of facts we'd been gathering. But it was in no way an official meeting. We simply wanted to talk it over with them so that they wouldn't feel we were doing something behind anybody's back. We have tried to be open and to work in the open, and this was just part of that effort.
The man came in and handed me a paper sack and asked me to fill it up with the coin and the currency.
Had you seen this man before?
Yes, he was in the bank yesterday for change.
What kind of description would you place on him?
Well, I would say he's average build, dark-headed, clean-cut looking fellow.
Did he say anything else to you except give him the money?
He just said he didn't want to shoot anyone.
Did you think for a time that he might?
No, because he was very calm.
What happened after he had got the money in the sack?
He locked us in the vault and left.
We can and we will make the necessary determinations with regard to where and how the water will be used. Therefore, I propose now that we put immediate emphasis on statewide efforts to control and to develop Texas water resources. Once these water resources are developed, they will be available in manageable form when they are needed. It is my further proposal that we proceed now with this program on a statewide coordinated basis. We must make maximum use of all the means, the procedures, and organizations that are available to us. We're fortunate indeed in Texas to have a unique means available to help in this effort. Texas is the only state in the Union that has river authorities. Many of these river authorities, like the Brazos River Authority, are basin-wide in scope. This gives to us in Texas the unique ability to look upon water resources problems in all of their varied aspects, just as nature created them, that is, on a basin-wide basis.
There's approximately 20,000 vehicles a day that travel that area. That is only a 2-lane bridge. And with the coming of the new Cowboy Stadium, the new regional airport, the Redbird Industrial Park, Dallas Baptist College is in this area, the Mountain View College, so the traffic there in the next few years will be multiplied tenfold. So we feel that it's very urgent that we start something on this bridge at this time. If we start today to promote this bridge, it would take at least 5 years to complete it. And by that time, the traffic would be piled up for miles. You go out there in the afternoons now at 4 o'clock till around 6:30, and you will find it piled up for a mile on each side of the bridge. It's a traffic hazard, and there's no way to carry the traffic that we're anticipating there in the next few years. So,
you say if we start now, it'll take 5 years to get this bridge. What's involved in that?
Someone has to apply for a permit for a high level bridge. As you know, this will be one of the high level bridges, and we understand the permit is in the process now, and this has to come out of the Corps of Engineers and from Washington, and then it comes back through the state and back into the city and the county. So we feel that with our meeting here today that we will get a little push on this and get it started.
So essentially you're trying to cut some red tape.
We're trying to cut some red tape and get a bridge in a hurry, so to speak.
We're not affiliated in any way. This was purely spontaneous. We just got together to see what we could do for the children, because there are many of them that need services that are not being provided.
Someone said earlier that you were concerned that the child would be lost in all the politics. Do you think this is a real chance?
Yes, I think it is a chance. When you get into a big argument and it becomes a political argument, you probably will not accomplish as much as you could have if it had just gone quietly along. I hope that won't happen.
President Nixon, seeing him was a minor part of what we were trying to do. Our major concern was to go up there and lobby against the Cooper Church Amendment and present the petitions to the White House. And so that was just a minor part to see him.
Did you encounter any antagonism?
No, I found out from one of Senator Yarber's aides that he was not an errand boy for the people of the state of Texas. And which I thought was a little antagonistic, but we ran into a few senators that said that they weren't. If 99% of people in the state disagreed with them, they'd still vote the way they wanted to. But I think all in all, even senators who didn't agree with us were glad to see a group such as ours up there. And the Texas congressmen were extremely glad to see us. We have the support of 22 of the 23 will be voting against the Cooper Church, more likely.
The thing that has bothered me most is the fact that we've lost this day. The kids coming up now don't even know anything about the 19th of June. You know, so you're going to celebrate Juneteenth. What is Juneteenth? It seems to me that in trying to attain equality of recognition, which is a God-given right, we're losing so much of our heritage. And the 19th of June in Texas is part of our heritage. This is a day that we've celebrated for as long as I can remember. And it seems that so many of the kids now, they're coming up, they're being accepted in some senses and being lost in others to things that I feel are very important. I think that there are quite a few people in our community that feel this way too. We want our children to be American and Americanized, not only to other races and other peoples, but to themselves. We want them to be proud of what they are. And you can't change what you are. You can't paint yourself white and expect to wipe out what is you. It just doesn't happen.
And what does it mean to a player to play on the World Cup?
Sure, it's his ultimate dream, you know, to be playing in the World Cup. To play for your country is the biggest thing. But because the World Cup's every 4 years, so if you're in form when the World Cup's on and you're playing for your country, then that's the greatest dream you can ever wish to achieve. That's the greatest.
I understand we have some sort of a mystery developing here in the digging for Queen Tut's bones. What is that mystery?
The mystery is where the skeleton is located.
You mean you don't know where Queen Tut is?
Well, our official position is that we know where it is until we find out we're mistaken.
Does this mean that maybe you've lost Queen Tut's grave then?
That is a possibility.
Why? How did this happen?
Well, the skeleton was buried about 6 years ago, and at that time we hoped to exhume it fairly soon. But a number of things have prevented this. In the meanwhile, the landmarks have changed considerably.